Let's go back to the first story that you talk about here, which is how the New York Times got the reporting on the Holocaust. Wrong is an understatement.
Yeah.
Who owned the New York Times? What's their background? And how did they cover the Holocaust?
Yeah, they're called the Sulzberger family today. They still control the paper. It's a public company, but they have a two-tier stock structure, and they have special stocks that gives them control of the paper that cannot be taken from them. They trace back to the founder of this dynasty, and it is a dynasty. This is one of the great American business dynasties that still exists today. We kind of think about the Rothschilds and the Vanderbilts, who are basically all gone. This one still remains. And by the way, it is a literal patriarchy. They passed that baton of the chairman of the paper and the publisher of the newspaper, chairman of the New York Times Company, from male heir to male heir to male heir for 120 years. There's not been someone who is not a white male, to speak in New York Times terminology, for over a century. So these are, they were started by Ox Sulzberger, who was a German Jewish immigrant to the United States. And after him, it was handed back with a brief stopover through his son-in-law to another son-in-law named Sulzberger. And Sulzberger was the guy who kind of really took the paper in this real drastic direction, including with the World War II stuff, where they were reporting on Nazi Germany in a way that was so favorable to the Nazis that they would just read New York Times reporting on German broadcasts without changing the reports or censoring them.
These are German Jews that owned the New York Times, and you're saying that they didn't report about the Holocaust? Why would they not report about the Holocaust? They're Jewish. What interest would they have to support the Nazis?
There's two separate issues there. One was the support of the Nazis was because they had a Nazi sympathizer running their Berlin bureau during World War II and a lead up to World War II. That guy his name is Guido Inderis. He was loved by Nazi brass because of the way he reported on Germany. And so he got really great access. He got access to the top people. He got great stories, got great scoops. And the Times knew this. They knew about his sympathies for the Nazis. But this is back to their capitalist bent. They didn't want to give up that access. They wanted to be number one. They wanted the Pulitzers, which they won for their pro-German reporting during World War II. They won 2 Pulitzers. The Holocaust stuff was about them not wanting to be seen as a Jewish newspaper, as Jewish-owned. Because this was America in the 1940s. There was a lot of anti-Semitism. They were afraid that it would jeopardize their position in the market. And for them, that was just not something they would sacrifice even for the truth. So they actually forbade the word Jew from appearing in reports, news reports, during that period. And in one instance, which was the liberation of Auschwitz, they did a big story. And the word Jew didn't appear in that story. And that was the extent to which they were willing to go to keep the paper sort of free of Jewish influence or the appearance of any kind of Jewish slant.
It was so important for them to feel like they can belong and fit in that they were actually willing to sell their own Jewish brethren who are out there in Germany being slaughtered.
That was the ideological part for them, which is that they kind of subscribed to this approach to the Jewish faith, which for them meant that there was no such thing as Jewish people as an ethnicity or a nation. There was just Jewish worship. Like you would go to a church and I would go to a synagogue and we're just all the same. And for them, what was happening in Europe was just happening to Europeans, not to Jews per se. So that was an ideological commitment that they made, and that's something that they all believed in. And it was about not wanting to be seen as being different. And it was also about not wanting to lose their leading position in the market.
How did they write articles about the Holocaust without mentioning the Jews? What did they write about?
They just didn't write about the Holocaust. That was the easy solution that they took. Or if they did, it would be in incredibly small articles that were buried in the back pages.